Welcome to Filmy Ladies. This week we are doing another in our occasional series of people we just feel like talking about for no particular reason other than we want to talk about them. And today it's Amrita Singh, about whom I know very little. And I have seen only a very few films until the last few days when I watched three. And Pitu really had suggested this and was excited about it. And I thought it sounded fun. So Pitu, why is Amrita Singh someone you feel is worth an episode of the Filmy Ladies podcast? Our
I
standards are
really
not high, to be clear, but like, so that's not a diss on Amrita Singh. It's just like, how did we end up in this particular direction at this time?
okay. So the way it happened was we have the Google Doc that has the list
Mm.
of female superstars and it's organized by chronological date of debut. And so when we came to the 80s, the first name on that was Meenakshi Seshadri. The second name on that was Amrita Singh. And the third name on it was Madhuri Dixit. So
Mm.
Amrita was like sandwiched between the two of them. And obviously we knew we were going to do an episode on Madhuri. And I was like, Amrita is not a superstar, but I was like, but I really like her and I really want to talk about her. And can we still talk about her? And we just
Yeah,
won't put her in the superstar list. And I
yeah.
think the reason I personally enjoy Amrita Singh so much is because she is I find her characters very relatable.
Mm.
She just isn't as much of a heroine to me, like she doesn't
Mm.
really do a lot of like larger than life stuff. Even when she's playing like a conniving villain, like in Aina, she's still relatable to some extent. Like she's not a
Interesting.
villain as in like a serial killer. She's a villain as in like this really like jealous, insecure older sister. And so I think the fact that she was like a bad girl, but not truly bad, was
Yeah.
kind of thing. And she straddles this very bizarre mid space where she's not a heroine, a classic heroine like say Meenakshi or Madhuri or Sridevi were, if we're talking of that era. But she's also not an art film actress either.
No.
But she's also not a vamp.
No.
It's kind of like, what are you exactly? And she's not like a middle of the road good girl either, like Bhoop
No.
or Vidya Sinha. She's just kind of in her own weird category that is hard to slot. And I actually enjoy her badness.
Hmm.
That's why I like her. What
Hmm.
about you?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I know very little about her career wise. And for me, there are a few films of hers I'd seen from the 80s, like Murd. I think that was the first thing I saw her in, probably, because of course I did. And then as far as I knew, she'd kind of dropped off and then kind of reappeared then at like in like two states and things like that.
Yeah.
But then I looked, I'm like, oh, she was doing TV.
Yeah. Hmm.
Which is a big gap for me. I don't know TV
Oh,
stuff.
but did you say Mard before Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman and Aina? Because I know you've seen those two movies too.
I saw it before Aina.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably did see it before those,
Okay.
both those. Yeah. Um, but I didn't really have much of an opinion, but after watching three more films, I'm very much in your camp. I found her, fun and fiery and strong and uh even in a movie where she's kind of playing or she is playing a person who's kind of a weakling, there was still some kind of like oomph there in a way that I really
Yeah.
responded.
Some
So
spunk.
yeah, I really have enjoyed the things I've watched her in the last couple days, and I'm looking forward to adding some more to my list over, coming months or whatever.
Yeah. So which movies did you watch?
Wow. In chronological order, I watched Betab because I had not seen that before. And if any of our listeners are in the United States and haven't seen it, it's on Tubi for free with subtitles. So that's really handy. I don't know if Tubi works other places in the world or not, but that I did not expect to find it there. Because at
Right.
first I was like, oh no, it's not on Enthusiasm with subtitles. What will I do? It's not on YouTube with subtitles. And then I actually just Googled it, and lo and behold, there it was. Then I watched Shukriya, which is a film so under discussed apparently that it doesn't even have a Wikipedia entry, but it had subtitles on Einthusen and it had a whole bunch of other people who were of interest to me, so I chose that one. And then I watched Kalyug,
Ah,
which
I want
is
to see that.
which is from 2005 and is a Mahesh Bhatt production, directed by Mohit Suri. And it has some very 2005-ish kind of aesthetics to it and all, but I also really enjoyed that. And in that one, she
Mm.
is, I don't know if it's quite fair to call her boss bitch, but it's in that direction, right? Like evil businesswoman.
Yeah.
And I, when I read the plot synopsis, I was like, oh, I bet she'll nail that. And sure enough, I thought she was great. So I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that one too.
Amrita is just, she's one of those actresses that she's good when she's good, but she's really enjoyable when she's bad.
Yeah.
It just comes so naturally to her, and you can
Yeah.
see like this gleam in her eyes. Like you can tell she's enjoying herself too,
Yeah.
which makes me enjoy her
Yeah.
performances.
Yeah.
So the two movies I watched were Chameli Ki Shadi, which was a rewatch. It's like a cult comedy film that people who love Chameli Ki Shadi
Mm.
really love it, myself
Mm.
included. And then I watched Sahib for the first time. So I've had an Anil Kapoor weekend. And I had never seen Sahib, and I wanted to watch it because it actually has my most favorite Hindi song of all time, which is Yaar Bina Chain Kahan Re from Bappi Lahiri by Bappi
Wow.
Lahiri. So I've seen that song and that video so many times, and I was like, okay, I'll give this movie a shot. I actually wanted to watch Kalyug because it's been on my list forever, but I ran out of time. So I just made do with these two movies. Did you want to talk about Betab first? I'm so excited you saw it.
Yeah, so for those like me who didn't know, it is the debut of both her and of Sunny Deol, basically. I guess he was in another film before, but not really in a significant role, if I understood correctly. So
Oh,
this is more or less his debut.
yeah.
Um, it is Taming of the Shrew, more or less, which is a plot I
Yeah.
hate. So the first half or so of this was rough going for me.
Right.
Not the fault of anyone in it. It's just I hate this story, and no amount of
Right.
setting it different times and places is really going to do much for it. However, I will say, interestingly, I know a few weeks ago we were doing our catch-up episode, and I said I had been watching the TV show Moonlighting. Moonlighting has
Mm.
an episode of that's Taming of the Shrew rewritten in iambic pentameter.
Mm.
But all, much more modern day speech, but with sort of historical styles thrown in for fun. So I had actually just seen probably my favorite adaptation I've ever seen of Taming of the Shrew.
Right.
So this had a lot going against it, but I thought, plot aside, they acquitted themselves well. There were
Mhm.
moments where I found both our debut leads a little awkward,
Mm.
and that I would think that they are better later in their careers. But I bought their love. Um, I thought they're both very energetic, which is
Yeah.
fun. This movie has my new favorite dog in all of Hindi cinema, Buzo,
He's
who I don't
so
even think I've
cute.
heard about Buzo the dog before, and I can't
Right.
believe I haven't. I must have just missed those references. Wonderful dog. And for my sensitive-minded listeners like myself, there's a moment where you think something bad happened to Buzo,
Yeah.
but it's okay. The Buzo survives the film. This is important to
And he
say.
has a nice scene at the end, like I
He does
told
have a
you.
nice scene at the end. But at first I thought she's confused what movie this is. This is and I'm like, no, Pitu would not forget Sunny Deol's first
I
film.
would
So
not.
I must be wrong. But boy, I was worried there for a minute. It
You
has
sent me all caps messages,
like,
and I
does
had to
that
like
dog
reassure
survive?
you. I was
Uh,
like, the dog survives, the horse survives. It's going to be fine. It's going to be
mhm.
okay, Beth.
This film has Shami Kapoor in his more paterfamilias sort of era
Yes.
as Amrita's dad, and he is a enabler of spoiled brat. And when we say spoiled brat, she's really, really, really awful.
Yeah, she
And there
is.
were definitely moments in this movie where I thought those poor horses that Sunny is breaking, like, okay, I get your analogy. That's plenty.
Right.
I felt really bad for those horses. I don't want to ask too many questions about how that was filmed. There were
Right.
times where I was like, oh, I wanted those horses to kick literally everyone in the head, except Anu Kapoor, who is great as the servant in Amrita's family. Um, some of these people are all pretty awful at different times. The gist is that the two were childhood friends, and then Sonny's dad had a business disaster and lost all his money, and then he died. So then they couldn't be friends anymore or whatever, and blah blah blah. But now as adults, he recognizes her, but she does not recognize him. So that power imbalance of knowledge also really bothers me. Like, I just think it's creepy. So he was,
Mhm.
teasing her and stuff all along. Also, she's really horrible. She goes into their farm and destroys a lot of their property,
Yeah.
which is not cute, not funny, not bratty. That's criminal. She's criminal.
Right.
Um, and before that, she's rammed his car and made a bunch of his livestock and produce fall into the river. I think a basket of chickens is drowning, basically. Like I didn't, I didn't find that fun to watch. I found that painful to watch. However, once she, comes around, and I don't know if you want to say she learns her lesson or whatever, like that this is the plot that we all know, then there's more stuff about why they, there's other hurdles to their romance, including from his mother, Nirupa Roy, because of course it is. But Prem Chopra is there. I love Prem Chopra. It was fun to see Shami, like great cast, some good
Yeah.
songs. The song in the like gazebo greenhouse, whatever that is really good.
Yeah.
I thought they did an especially nice job with that song. So
Hmm.
I get why this was a big hit. It's fun, you put fresh faces in something that people are already ready to consume, and you can get yourself a hit,
Hmm.
you know?
They have really good chemistry too,
Hmm.
Sanya and Amrita. They just like
Hmm.
look really good together. And I love that farm. So that valley in Kashmir is basically called Betab Valley because that's where it was shot. I don't know what its actual name is, but they call it
Oh,
Betab Valley. But it's so pretty. And I love the
yeah.
cinematography and I love that like farm. And when I watched Betab for the first time when I was a kid, and Betab, of course, started my lifelong obsession with Sunny Deol. His short shorts really helped. And
Very
his short
short.
shorts are very short. Um, they're excellent. All points to the costume designer. And I basically wanted to move on to that farm because I was like,
Mm,
okay, this man wears very short shorts and he's extremely cute. And he has a dog and he has a horse and he's all this livestock. And like, I need to move in with him, basically.
mhm.
So Amrita Singh was, I vacillated between hating Amrita Singh, but also wanting to be Amrita Singh. Because I was like, why is she romancing him? It should be me. But she's really like fresh and cute
Mhm.
and adorable in it, except for when she's being so horrible. But I think she does that role really well.
She does. Yeah.
And she's very funny. She has, I don't
Yeah.
think Amrita Singh gets credit for her comic timing.
Mm,
Also, I would like to nominate her to our list of women with the very, very good hair.
amazing hair.
Very
Absolutely
beautiful
amazing
hair.
hair, whether
Yeah.
straight or curly, like just amazing
Hmm.
all around.
She
Yeah.
looks really like her hair is just stunning. Also in the movie that I saw in Sahib.
There's a scene in this movie where she and Nirupa Roy are talking, and they show the back of Nirupa Roy's head, and they've not even tried to match her hair color with her bun. Like it's a very, very different shade of brown to dark brown to black. And I just, Amrita Singh's hair is so shiny.
So nice.
It's lovely. Like I am no wig expert, but I mean that looks like her real hair the whole time.
Yeah.
It's really quite lovely. They don't always costume her to full effect, I don't feel, but also it's
Mm,
1983, so what are you gonna do? Um,
yeah.
but although she has some of her color motifs, right? She's in red and white a lot, which I
She's
thought
in
was
red a lot. Yeah. And the little
interesting.
scarf. I love her
Yeah,
little
the little pink
jaunty
scarf
scarf.
is
Yeah.
a motif. But yeah, poor Nirupa got the short end of the wig stick there, but yeah, it's great.
Listen, all the budget went to the producer's son, okay? Because this is their main production.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, if like me you don't like the Taming of the Shrew plot, I
Mm,
think you could probably skip this one and still understand 80s Bollywood okay. But because
yeah.
this was such a popular film, I am glad to have seen it for that reason as well, because sometimes you just need to
Yeah.
see these things to like, you know, feel your education is more rounded. But I do think you
And
can
it
get
did make them immediate superstars. Like this was their debut film, and they not only became a big hit pair, but it really did launch their career. I don't think either Amrita or Sunny really struggled in their career in the
mm,
beginning because Betab just shot them into the limelight so quickly. And
mhm.
then Sunny, of course, kept that going with like, all his other action films and
So, do
stuff.
you think part of the success of this film, I fear, is as it is with some other retellings of Taming of the Shrew, is people like to see a strong woman brought down, made low?
I actually don't think it's that. I think it's the music because
Ah,
Betab's music is so amazing. That soundtrack is so good. And the way it's shot in those like valleys and things,
it's
which
pretty.
Rahul Ravel is really good at that, is really good. And then that gazebo song, Badal
Yeah.
Kyun Garajta Hai, I mean, to this day, it's considered one of the really romantic rain songs. I think with that soundtrack and with the lead's chemistry, they could have
Hmm.
made any romantic movie and it would have been a hit. Like they could have made something like Love Story, which has Kumar Gaurav and what's her name, Vijayata Pandit. it would have been fine. They could have made a Kamat Se Kamat Tak type of a movie. They could have made any romantic story, and I think it would have worked. But really, the music plays such a big role,
Mm.
and the cinematography, and also they are both very easy on the eye.
Hmm.
So in the 80s, when there just weren't a lot of like very good looking, handsome men out there, I mean, you had Sunny Deol come in. I mean, the 80s were like horrible. I just came off of Anil Kapoor back to back movies where I had to see scenes of like his back hair, okay? So I envy you watching Sunny Deol in short shorts. And then what was the other movie you saw?
Shukriya.
Oh God. So I watched that horrible song that you sent me. What did you say? Since you like the Tick Tick songs, because I love Tick Tick Bole Dil Ki Ghadi. And then you
Hmm.
sent me that horrible song with
Tick, tick, tick,
Rajiv
tick.
Kapoor. And I was like, this is so
Yeah, so when
bad.
I saw that there was a movie with her with English subtitles that I could get my hands on, I read the plot summary and I was like, "Oh." And it stars Rajiv Kapoor as her love interest and
He looks uncannily like Rishi Kapoor, by the way, in that
so
song you
to
sent
me he
me.
looked oh, see to me I just was getting Shami the whole time. Not in terms of
Really?
how he's behaving, but like facially to me I saw
Yeah.
Shami. It's funny. So this movie is she plays the daughter of Prawn, which has
Okay.
another mark in its favor for me. And the whole gist is that she was an impish child and playing lots of pranks and accidentally kills her own mother in a prank.
What?
And yeah, and Prawn is mad at her for the rest of her life, basically. And he treats
Okay.
her badly, like not locks her in a room or anything, but and she's terrified and like she's clumsy because she's always worried she's going to make a mistake. So then she does make a mistake and like this poor
Hmm.
kind of meek. So watching Amrita Singh be meek
Oh.
is interesting. And I watched this before Betab. So I'm glad actually, because watching it after would have been harder to, but I thought she did
Yeah.
a pretty good job convincing us that she was this meek thing who's never, like barely ever talks to anyone outside her family, doesn't really seem to have any friends, if I remember right.
It's
And then
almost reminding me of Shy Rakhi from Sharmili.
a little bit, yeah. And then Rajiv Kapoor is has a vendetta against Pran for reasons that will become apparent. So he, woos her to try to marry her to get her money and like take revenge on Pran.
Oh.
Because Pran back in the day was in a relationship with his sister, Rajiv's sister, who's
Mm.
considerably older than he is. And then Pran ran off and left her. And she was pregnant
Mm.
and wait, was she pregnant? Wait a minute, I may have just made that up. I take that back. But
Okay.
ran off and left her, and she basically loses her mind with grief and
Mm.
is always to this day like, when will he? I'm waiting for him. When will he come? And Rajiv is like trying to, calm her or distract her, and she has, unspecified reasons for sort of like fits or something and throws things around and Prem Chopra is in this one as their kindly uncle, as Rajiv's kindly
Okay.
uncle who's on crutches and is like helpful. Um, so, you've got some deception going on, and poor Amrita is deceived by Rajiv
Right.
Kapoor. Not a sentence you'd ever thought to put together. That's
No.
kind of a weird one. I
I
don't know
can't
why
buy
it's
her.
called Shukriya either. Who here is thankful? And
No
to
one.
whom? Because I don't think either. Maybe Rajiv Kapoor should say Shukriya by the end of the film for realizing that his vendetta is like kind of pointless and everything resolves, so it's okay. But I hope that we're not supposed to think Amrita Singh should be thankful to him for pretending
Right.
to be in love with her. Like that's weird and gross. So I don't know
That's
why
so
it's called
strange.
Shukriya. Someone does say it at some point, but not in a way that I thought, oh, this is why the title is this. Like I thought that
Right.
was really
That is
weird.
such a strange title too. And this movie is giving me like it's almost like Bazigar meets Miss
Yeah.
Havisham from Great
Yes.
Expectations
Yes.
plus Shy Girl from Sharmili. And I simply
Yeah.
cannot buy the idea of Amrita Singh being a meek, clumsy person. Meanwhile, Rajiv Kapoor is some sort of like mastermind who is doing some sort of vendetta. Like that's a Shah Rukh Khan role. That's also an
Yeah.
Amitabh Bachchan role. That's not
Well, yeah.
a
Yeah,
Rajiv
he
Kapoor role.
doesn't, he wasn't as bad as I thought he would be. But again, I don't maintain that I wish he'd had more of a career than he did. Like, he doesn't make a particular impact. I think anyone could have done this, and
Yeah.
a lot of people had have added a lot more to it than he did. There is, excuse me, a song where they're dancing around where I was impressed with his dancing. So I was
Okay.
like, okay, you are still a Kapoor. I guess you've got the music, some of the music selling, or you were able to channel it for this thing. But yeah, and they're not a couple that you need to have.
No.
I can't really tell anyone you must watch this film. Prawn does a nice job being evil and then kind of, coming around at the end, which is something we've seen Prawn do before, but I did enjoy his snarling at people and things like that. But and
Mm,
he's got they've got a big mansion and I love a filmy mansion and
okay.
so you could do worse than watch this, but you don't need to watch it.
So, in terms of Amrita's performance, she starts out as like meek and shy and awkward and all of those things. Does
Hmm.
she eventually come into her own or become confident or anything, or
Well,
she just stays that way?
there's a scene where I forget why this has happened exactly, but for some reason she's really angry at Rajiv, and you see her put on the red riding jacket, like with the velvet and everything, and go galloping
Ooh,
on a horse, and you think,
ooh,
okay, now we get, like
right.
Queen Batty. But then she sort of goes back to her former self pretty
Oh
quickly. Not
no.
maybe not quite back into her shell, but she's apologizes quickly and things like that because she doesn't have the full story about why something's happening. So there was a glimmer, and I was like, oh, that's why they
Right.
cast her in this. I did read somewhere on the internet in passing that apparently in an interview she said this is the worst film she's ever done. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know at what point she said that because I suspect there's some early 2000 things that or late 90s things that might take that title, but
Yeah. Although I don't think she did a lot of movies, like, because once she married Seth and then she had her two kids, I think for a long time she was basically a stay-at-home mom. And I think then she
mm,
came back to television because they got divorced and Seth wouldn't pay her alimony. And there's this whole like acrimonious thing in the media. Um, but interesting. I'll come to Kalyug in a second because I'm so curious to hear about it. But so the movies I watch, Amir Ki Shadi, is super popular. It's really cute. It's a Basu Chatterjee movie, and it's
mm,
very Basu Chatterjee. Like
okay.
it's got his mark all over it. So people who enjoy his movies will enjoy it, and people who don't like his brand of movie will not enjoy it. But it's very fun and it's very cute, and she is really funny in this movie. Her comic timing is so good. She's basically this girl called Chamedi, and her dad's name is Kallumal Koilewala, which is one of my favorite like filmy names. Koilewala literally means coal seller, so he's Kallumal coal
Nice.
seller. And Anil Kapoor is this boy who falls in love with her, and they just live in this like tiny little community. And at its core, the movie is basically, it talks about sort of like the evils of the caste system, but without being very like ham-handed about it. It's basically just that she wants to marry Anil and Anil wants to marry her, and her parents don't want her to marry Anil Kapoor
Mm,
because he's from a
mm.
different caste. That's basically it. But it's a comedy, and it's very witty and very funny. And she's this very sprightly person who's always like talking back, which is hilarious. Like her parents try a lot to like try to control her, and they're just not able to.
Who plays
Uh,
her parents?
her mom is played by Bharti Achrekar, who is a
Huh.
Marathi film and TV and theater actress. She's hysterical. And her dad plays this guy he's very sort of like milk toast. And I forget his name, but this is a famous TV actor as well.
Mm.
And he's acted in like plays and stuff. But he's what?
I see Anu Kapoor is in this film as well.
He is.
We're
He
having a real Anu
is.
Kapoor fest on this
We are.
podcast.
So he is her mama, her uncle,
Okay.
her mom's brother. And the dad is basically Milkatos. The mom really wants to be able to like control this girl because she keeps trying to like run away with Anil Kapoor and wants to get married to him and stuff. So the mom asks her brother to come to like try to control her, and he can't. And it's Anu Kapoor, so he's drunk half the time. And she has a scene where she's had it with Anu Kapoor. So she basically bashes him up. It's hysterical. He's like completely drunk and falling over the place, and she's screaming at him to get out of her house and go back to his stupid home or whatever. And it's just kind of like a screwball comedy, and
Hmm.
it's really her show. No one really watches Chameli Ki Shadi for Anil Kapoor. No one watches it for Om Prakash, who plays his teacher. So
Yeah.
Anil Kapoor hysterically plays a wrestler in this movie, a kushtiwala, which is funny because Anil Kapoor does not have the physique of a kushtiwala. Okay,
No.
and his teacher, his guru, is the one who says that you have to be celibate until age 40. because otherwise you're going to get unfocused in life or whatever. And Anil Kapoor wants to break his vow of celibacy because he falls in love with this girl, Chameli. And so the
Aw,
whole movie is about how these two want to get together. And it is an Amrita Singh show all the way. You can't
nice.
replace her. She's a firebrand. She's funny. She throws tantrums. But she's just a funny and cute girl. Like, I want to hang out with Chameli. And there's a really funny song in it where they are imagining themselves as very put upon,
Mm,
where they kind of are like reenacting like a Mughal Azam sort of a scene where he is
that's
Salim and
fun.
she's Anarkali, but it's set in the coal shop. So there's literally
That's
like coal
great.
behind her and she's wearing this
Great.
outfit and her stupid dad is like imprisoning her or whatever. It's just a really funny song. So I recommend Chameli Ki Shadi for
It
people who
looks
want to
good.
watch Amrita's comic timing. And then the other movie I watched was extremely underwhelming and boring, and that
Oh
movie was
no.
Sahib.
But
Oh,
it
oh
has that
boy.
amazing disco song.
It has such a great, amazing disco song, but except for that amazing disco song, it has nothing going for it.
Oh,
So it is so lame and so full of, and if I'm not mistaken, it's by, I feel like it's a Rishikesh Mukherjee movie or something. I don't know. I have to check. But it's got Utpal Dutt in it. It's got Rakhi. It's got Biswajit. It's got like a lot of big names, and it's so lame. So Anil
huh.
Kapoor plays Utpal Dutt's son. He's one of his four sons, and he doesn't have any money. And he is like a goalkeeper at like a football thing, and he's bad in his studies. And he falls in love with Amrita Singh, who lives opposite, and she's cute and funny.
It's
And
a remake of a Bengali film called Sahib, and the director is
okay,
Anil Ganguly.
of this movie as well, of Sahib
Yeah.
as well. Okay, yeah, it's not good. And then at one point they don't have enough money, so this is the most ridiculous plot. Anil Kapoor sees an advertisement for a rich man wants a kidney for his son who's dying of kidney failure. So Anil
Mm,
Kapoor agrees to sell his kidney for like 50,000 rupees or something. It's
mm,
so lame. And then there's like a lot of crying and Rakhi and this and that, and then at the end it's like a happy ending. It's so lame,
mm.
but it started out like a funny little, I thought it was going to be like a good rom-com, and then within about 20 minutes it just turned into this really melodramatic and stupid film.
Huh.
So I do not recommend it, but the
Okay.
song is the only good thing.
Yeah, that song, I mean, that's on my Filmy Disco playlist for sure. That's a great song.
It is such a great song, and it is choreographed so well, and they've danced so well, and I love the lighting in it. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of the scenes in it, like the moonwalking and stuff, I don't think that's Anil Kapoor and Amrita Singh. I think those are,
Oh,
I just don't think they are. I think they're because the way they're like choreographed, like with the
yeah.
hair covering their faces and stuff, I really think that they were like
Interesting.
choreographers' assistants or something who did it, because they probably
Huh.
gave up. I mean, can you imagine trying to get Anil Kapoor and Amrita Singh to moonwalk? That is not
I don't
something I would
know.
attempt to do.
I don't know.
So I don't think that's them, but
Okay.
most of the other things are them. So I do not recommend Sahib. Just watch the song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me about Kalyug because I'm so curious.
Okay. This movie, uh, in no way should be confused with the Kalyug previously discussed on this. Janoon, Janoon, Kalyug, Kalyug. Like these are very things that are Shashi Kapoor produced, things that are not Shashi Kapoor produced.
Right?
Um, this film is from 2005. It's I said the wrong person. It is produced by Mukesh Bhatt, not
Okay.
not what I said. Um,
So
it
the one who makes movies like Raz and stuff,
yeah.
not the one who makes art. Okay.
Yeah. So Mohit Suri is the director, which is certainly a name that I know. This is basically a revenge story starring Kunal Khemu, um, who gets married, and unbeknownst to him and to his wife, they are filmed on their wedding night, and that
Oh,
is put up on a porn website. And his
okay.
wife, when being questioned by the police and being lied to very, very overtly by the police, they're forcing confessions, saying everything will be okay, and it's not. The police are real villains in this story.
Mm.
Um, she decides to she dies by suicide. She throws herself off off the police station balcony.
Oh
And
no.
he is eventually released, but then goes on basically a vengeance trip to, of all places, Switzerland. And it's never brought up like, oh, Swiss money, you can hide anything there or anything. It's just in
Yeah.
Switzerland for reasons, as far as I can tell. I don't know why it's there. Maybe there's something that was happening in 2005 about
Was
porn on the
Yash
internet or
Chopra a
something.
consultant on this
I
film?
don't know. You don't get a whole lot of pretty Switzerland because it's all like sex shops and things like this, kind of
Yeah.
sweetie, seedy. I think it's supposed to be Zurich. Um,
Okay.
and he's trying to find out who did this.
Mm.
Ashutosh Rana is one of the bad guys, so it's fun to see him in like full seedy villain mode. I think they must have had him shoot for like a day, but they crammed in quite a few fights. Maybe it's 2 days. And Amrita Singh is the CEO of the business that we come to find out runs this porn site.
Ah, okay. So she is the bad guy in
She
this
is the
movie.
bad
Okay.
guy, and she has a
Interesting.
daughter who is gay, and we see her daughter with women, which is interesting. I can't imagine in 2005 that was very common in
Right.
a at least somewhat mainstream Hindi film.
Yeah.
Um, so
Is her daughter's character villainized in any way? Like, oh, look how bad she is and
so
sort of
Amrita
a
has
thing.
all these lines about I'm a modern woman and all, but once you think about our is it?
Mm.
So the daughter is kind of shamed by the villain, but I
Okay.
don't think she's really shamed by anybody else.
Okay.
And I don't want to give too many more spoilers away about this because if you do, especially since you were
I
going to
do want to
watch it
watch it.
anyway, yeah, we should talk more about it once you've seen it. Um, it's interesting. It's really interesting.
Mm.
Um, I suspect that it is a simplistic treatment of certain issues around voyeur porn and things like
Mm.
that. Also, I mean, man, that was 19 years ago. There's a lot I don't remember about how the internet was 19 years ago,
Right.
but it does have some of the same sort of feel as Love, Sex, or Doka in a way with the like
Okay.
with the taping and things like that.
Yeah.
But very different tone, obviously. Imran Hashmi is in it as a someone who
Of
works
course he
in some of
is.
the sex shops and things like
Mm.
that. He gets to run at Rana with a sword. That's fun. I don't remember why there's a sword, but there is. This was it's kind of a speedy film. It's only 2 hours long, and there's a lot going on. And Kunal Khemu is endearing as he usually is. Very 2005 hair. Oh boy. But yeah, I was trying to decide if I would call it tacky or seedy because, I
Mm.
recently watched Boom, and I don't think that Boom is bad, but I do think it's tacky, as I think I said on the show, this podcast. But I'm not sure if I think this is tacky. Um, I suspect you could have gotten at some of the same things it's getting at without depicting, you know, sex work in Europe in a
Mm.
but I don't know. I don't know. So it'd be interesting to if others have seen this, what they think about it. Amrita has some lines about like, this is what happens when there's supply and demand. If I hadn't filled this demand for porn, someone else would have. So why shouldn't I do it?
Okay.
Why shouldn't I get the money off of it? Which is an excuse we don't really take very well anymore in 2024.
Right.
More thinking about capitalism by more people. But yeah, it's Kunal Khemu vigilante justice
Yeah.
kind of thing,
I think it's his debut film, right? Kunal Khan is like as an adult actor.
yeah, it's close to the
Okay.
beginning, if not the actual. And I thought he did well. Good. I mean, I'm always
Mm.
pleased to see
He's
him as
good.
an actor. Yeah. I haven't really seen very many of his movies. I noticed actually, I actually looked and I feel like I've seen a lot of his movies, but that's clearly not true. Um,
Mm. If he
yeah.
hosted a talk show or an interview show, I would 100% watch it
Oh
because I
yeah.
think he's so witty and so
Interesting.
funny and he's very well spoken. I actually
Hmm.
really enjoy his interviews and things. So he's just very charming and smart
Interesting.
at the same time. Yeah.
Hmm.
So how interesting though that you watched Amrita Singh's debut film, which basically made her a star. You watched one of the movies that no one has ever seen and doesn't get talked about at all for good reason, where
Yeah.
she plays completely against type. And
Yeah.
then you also saw her sort of return into the
Yeah.
movies where she's playing the non-heroine.
Yeah, I was really glad to find a movie from a later chunk of her career, other than like Two States, which I've seen. I
Right.
wanted, and I thought I mean, she looks amazing. Her hair is still glorious, and she's she mostly wears black, but every now and again you see her in jeans and like a black
Mm.
top. She looks amazing. Um, I really, really bought her as evil CEO,
Yeah.
and as what are the words for this? Like parent who maybe is trying to accept their kid who isn't the way they hoped their kid would be, but is failing. Um, and
Interesting.
obviously she's drawn fairly broadly, as everyone in this film is, but I still thought she brought something to that that I feel like I feel like I could see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't sympathize with her at all. She definitely does a lot to make you dislike her, but it was not a one note boss
Mm.
bitch kind of thing. It was a little more complex than that. It's the kind of thing that it made me think of Reka,
Yeah.
and like, ooh, getting them in the same movie, that could be really cool. Like
Mm.
warring business sisters or something like that could
Yeah.
be great, or even mother daughter or whatever. Um, so yeah, again, you don't need to run out and see this movie, but I think if it was on your list, I would encourage you to take a look at it. And I would like to talk with you about it after you watch it, if you
Yeah, for
if you do
sure.
watch it. So yeah.
Especially because also this isn't really a topic that gets discussed much.
No,
And I would almost imagine if someone was making this movie, I feel like they would cast a man in that role. So even
I
the fact that they
wonder.
cast a woman is also interesting to
Yeah.
me. Um,
And she is
yeah,
surrounded by men in her business, but none of them are more admirable than she is at all. Like they're all rotten. So that's kind of
right.
interesting too. It's not like there's a male underling who's actually secretly right the whole time. No, they're
Mm,
all trash.
okay. It's also interesting to hear you say, like, I liked one thing you said where you said that it's not a one note performance.
I don't think so.
And that's something I like about Amrita. Like two of her movies that I really enjoy, and I have watched many, many times because they're not quite guilty pleasures. I do enjoy those films. One is Raju Banya Gentleman, which I've seen like 1 million times, and the other is Aina, which I also enjoy very much,
Yeah.
despite some of the stupid stuff in it. And I really like her role in Raju Banya Gentleman, where she's clearly conniving and manipulative, but at the same time, she's not like a Mr. Burns kind of a villain either. Yeah, it's it again, it's where she's kind of like believable. Like you can believe this like
Mm,
rich daughter of like a CEO who knows that her dad does shady things, and she kind of is okay with those shady things being done because it's not her hands that are getting dirty, and also she
yeah.
gets to enjoy the spoils of it. And she has her sights on this young foolish naive man. And I love her scenes with Raju, like when they go to the dhaba and he's trying to get her to eat with her hands, and she's like, with my hands and in a dhaba. And then I love her in that song "Tu Mere Saath Saath Asma Se Aage Chal," where they're drinking the champagne and she's basically like tempting him. She does that same tempting thing that Rekha does really well, where it's kind of like, come to the dark side, we have cookies or we have champagne. And it's like, oh, okay, it wouldn't hurt me to do a bad thing now and then.
That's
I'll just
right.
build a bridge that falls and kills a bunch
Yeah.
of people. Well, what could be so bad about that? Or even in Aina, it's like her character in Aina is so horrible. She is such a horrible human
Hmm.
being and
Hmm.
such an awful sister to have. But her character is the more interesting one, as opposed to Juhi Chawla's
Yes.
extremely cardboard, goody two shoes character, which is completely unrelatable.
Yeah.
And she's more entertaining. And weirdly enough, so my husband and I were watching Aina a few months ago. I have no idea why, but
You did it for the jealousy episode, I think, that we did.
okay.
Hmm.
And I remember at one point, and he likes that movie too. And at one point, he was like, "Huh, I feel bad for Amrita Singh." I'm like, "She's the bad guy in this movie. You're not supposed to feel bad for her." And he's
Yeah.
like, "I know, but I feel like she's probably learned her lesson, and we should all be okay with her." And I was like, "What?" But I kind of felt that way too. And I think again, it's because even when she's doing bad things, somehow she manages to humanize those people
Mm.
because they're not quite that level of psychopathy that we can be like, you suck. But she does suck. But I don't know. I have complicated feelings about
Yeah.
her characters.
So I'm trying to think if I would say that about her character in Betab. Would you?
I think her character in Betab is just very poorly written. and very
And she's also,
cardboard.
I mean, she's supposed to be what, 19 or something, and she is actually 19 or thereabouts. So
Yeah,
I feel like with that character, I don't think there's a lot. It's like she's one thing and then a switch is flipped and she's another. So I don't think you get
yeah,
to see that. But if it's basically a teen, I'm kind of willing to let that slide. I'd like to think,
yeah.
I don't want anyone to make that film again. I don't need that story anymore.
Right.
But if they were, I'd hope it would be given a little more complexity.
And
But
and you know those movies that the romantic films that they made with where they're like debuting the two leads and they have great music. It's like it's such a formula, right?
oh yeah,
All of those films, the characters are extremely poorly written because it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
yeah.
Maine Pyar Kiya is like that. Qyamat Se Qyamat Tak is like that. I couldn't tell you one thing about Rashmi's character in Qyamat Se Qyamat Tak, and I've seen that movie so many times. Beyond telling you that Juhi Chawla looks really adorable and I like her in all the songs, she doesn't have a personality. Nor does
Yeah,
Bhagyashrie's character in Maine Pyar Kiya. Nor does Vijayata Pandit in Love Story. They just exist to be very pretty and desirable.
yeah.
And the boy is also pretty and desirable. And they have good music. And that's basically it. There's not a lot of substance there. No one is watching
Oh,
these movies because they're like, wow, mind blowing. Some of us are watching Beta for the shorts, though,
mm.
and the horseback riding and the close ups.
And Buzo, the dog,
The boos of the dog, so cute. Yeah, he's
best
a good
dog.
animal
He's
friend
a
and
great
best horse
dog.
also in the movie. Yeah. What are some Amrita Singh movies that you enjoy? How do you feel about, Two States or Aina Raju Bange or
I
anything
fully
else you've
admit
seen?
I don't remember her in Two States very well. I feel
Mm,
like I mean, she's a parent who disapproves, right? Isn't that her main
yeah.
thing in that movie? So
And
that's a
very like racist and rude and
yeah.
just this awful mother-in-law.
Yeah. So that's a movie I've just put out of my mind fully.
Mm,
I don't think I really yeah, I didn't walk into this with much of an impression of her just because I hadn't really seen enough. But the film I remember her most from is Marred, where she is also like a
mm,
strong, feisty kind of right. And that works in a movie like that, I think. I
yeah.
did almost watch Marred as well, but then I was like, should I rewatch Marred or should I watch Kalyug, which I haven't seen, which is later in her career. So I did not choose Manmohan Desai. Who
Right.
am I even? If I'd had another day, I would have maybe rewatched Merge as well. But I am eager to see it again and see how she fits into that world now that I know a little bit more about her. But yeah, so she
Yeah.
wasn't someone I walked in with really any opinion of. I don't know anything about her and Seth's relationship. For example, I've known
Oh
for a long time
God.
that they were married, but I don't know that gossip at all. Um, and that's fine. And I hope that she has enjoyed her long career in acting. I hope it's what she wants to do. I don't,
Yeah.
but I would definitely, if, next time I see her name on a film, on the IMDb list, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I'd watch that.
Yeah. I wanted to rewatch Nam, but I was running out of time. So I was like, okay, I have an option. I can rewatch Nam, which is a movie I enjoy. Or I can watch a new movie, which ended up being Sahib, which was not a good choice.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have like the biggest role in Nam because Nam really is mostly like a Sanjay Dutt movie, and it
Mm.
is made by Mahesh Bhatt. Has some really good songs in it as well. But she's memorable in it. What little she does in it is
Do you
good.
think there's something about her that made her a good foil and or partner in these like super macho 80s 90s films?
I think so, but I feel like there were a lot of actresses that also did that well
Okay.
in these super much, like
Okay.
Meenakshi Seshadri, for example, has done so many movies with Amitabh Bachchan, which were also in that very like
But
macho
those two women are
zone.
very different to me.
They're very different, yeah, but
Yeah.
they both did those kind of films. Also, doesn't I've only seen Mard once when I was a kid, and all I remember about it is isn't there a scene there where Amrita Singh is whipping Amitabh Bachchan with like an actual whip or something?
That's what
Why
I
is she doing
remember.
that? Why is that happening? I don't even know.
Yeah, well,
Do I want to know? Probably not.
complicated.
Okay. I was like, I have no idea what's happening there. Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that because of the kind of characters she played and the kind of personality has. She was very fiery. She was like in real life, and very unapologetic about the romantic affairs she had with some really famous
Mm.
men. I think Vinod Khanna, Sunny Deol. Um, there was a cricketer she was involved with for a
Oh,
very long time,
wow.
and I think they almost got married. Ravi Shastri. Yeah,
Huh.
they were like a big, like, posited to be like a power couple and stuff, but that engagement didn't happen.
Wait,
um
so is she with Vinod Khanna after he comes back from
yes.
Osho?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
she had a relationship with
Interesting.
him, and she was one of the few actresses that was open about those relationships, that would talk about them unapologetically and
Huh.
be like, yeah, I've had an affair with these people and things didn't work out or whatever. And I think for that, along with, I think, other reasons, she was very unfairly branded in the media at that time, as it
Yeah.
were. And she was actually called Mard Singh by a lot of people, because how dare not she, be this like demure, sweet, shy lady who is happy to be in the
Uh,
shadows. Which I think one of the reasons why I have a little bit of a soft spot for her, because I think that being as outspoken and open as she was, I think it did kind of hurt her career to some extent. And I
mm,
do feel like she was kind of bullied by the tabloids and
mm.
Stardust and magazines like that. So I have a little bit of a soft spot for her for that reason, at least.
When I
Um,
learned that she was related to Dilip Kumar, that was a like moment for me. I remember
yeah,
that. Yeah.
she's also related to Rajiv Gandhi, if I'm not mistaken,
Interesting.
by some sort of, yeah, I'm
Interesting.
not 100% sure, or maybe they were just family friends with the Gandhis. I'm not sure,
Oh,
because
you know what? I think I did see that in Wikipedia. Yeah.
yeah, her mom was like an important politician or something. Um, but yeah, the whole Saif thing was also shocking. I
Huh.
do kind of have, it's very tacky, their whole relationship. And then if you have not seen the Rendezvous with Simi Garewal episode that has a very young Saif and Amrita in it, that is worth a watch. It is so awkward. And when they got married, she was 33 and he was 21, and they got married in the, like, eloped and got married at some temple. And
She's only
his,
6 years older than him, I think.
really? Are they?
Wikipedia says she is 6 years older.
Okay. I thought there was a bigger age gap, but I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
they got married, and then he eventually, like, they got divorced, and then that really made, they had like a very acrimonious relationship in the
Mm,
papers, where every other day was like some new thing. Like, they really washed their dirty linen in public, both of them.
mm,
And Seth made some extremely problematic statements at the time, where he basically talked about how much alimony she was demanding, like basically child support that she was demanding. And then she went back to work. So she started acting in these
mm,
terrible, terrible TV soaps, because she needed a paycheck. And he supposedly froze their joint bank account or something, which is why she went to work. And then he said in his interview something like, I'm providing for my children, so why does she have to work? I was like, excuse me?
wow.
Yeah, he did not come off looking good at
Mm,
all in that whole like debacle. And to
mm,
this day, it really seems like he doesn't seem particularly interested in the lives of his first two children that he had with Amrita, saying everything is always about like
mm.
Tim and Jay or whatever. So I don't know. It's just kind of like, I'm glad for him and Karina that they seem to be very happy
Yeah.
with each other. But Seth is a very, very questionable person.
Yeah, that's not good to know.
Yeah. But
Mm.
yeah, I think you might enjoy watching their interview though on Semi Garewal. It's kind of cute.
What are other of her films that you feel I should see? Sounds like Nam maybe is one of them.
Yeah, I like Nam. It's not really her film per se, but it's a good movie. It's a Mahesh Bhatt film, and it has that very famous ghazal in it, "Chithi Aayi Hai," which
Mm,
all NRIs loved, because when I was growing up in Nigeria, every single Indian person loved that song. And
funny.
anytime there was like, all Indian parties when I was growing up would start out very lighthearted and fun, and there was lots of frivolity. And by midnight, all the uncles would be drunk on like whiskey. They would all be drunk on like Shivas or Johnny Walker or whatever. And then they would start playing ghazals, and someone would start playing like Mehdi Hassan and Ghulam Ali and Pankaj Udas and Jagjit Singh. And the mood would just go like that. And Chitti Aayi Hai was a very popular song. It was the Gharaja Pardesi of that decade. And it was so funny. I've seen so many grown uncles, including like my dad, like crying into their whiskey about like
Oh,
Chitti Aayi Hai, like it's a letter from home.
I'm trying to remember. So this is very off topic, forgive me. When Amrita, our friend from the Khandan podcast, not Amrita Singh, and I were in Lucknow, we went to dinner in a hotel that was one of the older, not old like a palace old, but like I think it was rumored to be the hotel where Shashi Kapoor put up the cast and crew during Janoon.
Ah, okay.
We had gotten there for dinner fairly early, and it was all sad guzzles on the on the sound system in the restaurant. And there's like this one little sad rose on our table. And we were just like, hmm. But it felt sort of right to be in Lucknow and have this going on. So
No, of course. Like it's ghazals is a very it's a very uncle thing.
mm,
It is ghazals. Pankaj Udas and Mehdi Hassan and Ghulam. These people are like an uncle's spirit animal. And so you kind of have to grow up with like Indian uncles to see that. But it's like endearing, but it's also funny. It's like every party ended like that, Beth. Every party. And the
amazing,
kids would be like passed out somewhere on someone's couch or like watching a movie or
amazing.
something. And the moms would be gossiping in a corner and all the uncles would be crying over their whiskey.
That's amazing.
And then everyone would go home drunk in their like chauffeur driven cars with the kids falling asleep in the back of the car. But yeah. Yeah, I would say Nam. I don't really know any other Amrita Singh movie too. She doesn't have like the biggest filmography, and she
Mm,
also, along with Meenakshi and Madhuri, she debuted at a time that there weren't really a lot of roles for women. It was still the terrible 80s.
yeah.
Um, I feel like Amrita is one of those actresses that I feel like if she was born 20 years later and had debuted now, I think she would have had better opportunities. And more than even a Bollywood heroine, I think she could have been very successful on like OTT.
Yeah.
I think she could have done some very good like streaming roles and things like that. I feel like Amrita Singh would be such a great like police detective,
Ah.
right?
Oh, like
Like
she and Ravina Tandon could be detectives.
exactly. Like have you seen that Kate Winslet show Mayor of Easttown?
No, but I know people love it. Yeah.
It's kind of that sort of a role that if she did, she would be really good. I still want to see Bebo's Buckingham Murders or whatever it's called.
Me too.
Yeah, so something like that, like a jaded police detective. I feel like she would do that really well, along with Tabu.
Mm.
Okay, I think that wraps up our episode on Amrita Singh. Not a superstar, but still great, and we love her unconventional, fun style, and we love her hair.
Who do you
Tell
think would
us.
be next in our series of like they're not a superstar, but we just like them and want to talk about them? Like, is there anyone else on our list we need to do sometime soon?
I mean, we should do an episode of Konkana, but I feel like we should do it a little later because
We
she's
should.
not from this era.
Right.
I was going to say Tabu, but Tabu is a superstar.
Superstar of our
So
hearts, Konkana Sen Sharma.
I know we should do an episode on Madhavi Mukherjee. Actually, she's actually older than this
Oh
decade
yeah.
that we're in right now. But like, I love
Yeah.
her. So we should talk about her. What a peerless beauty that woman was. Was I don't know. Has she passed?
No, I think
Um.
she's alive.
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah,
God. Makes me want to
we
go
should do an
rewatch
episode on
Charlotte right
her.
now.
I know. I'm gonna have to watch some of her other movies because the Madhuri Mukherjee
She
movies
is
I've seen
alive.
are Charulata, Nayak, and Mahanagar. So I've just seen these three. So I need to see. I think these are the only three I've seen.
She's
So
not
I
in
need to.
Nayak.
Oh yeah, Sharmila is a Nayak. So I've
Yeah.
seen Charulata and Mahanagar. I feel like I've seen one more movie of hers, but the name is escaping me right
Mm.
now. But yeah, Madhuri Mukherjee would be a good one to do as well. Although I don't know, was she a superstar in Bengali cinema? Maybe she was a superstar.
I think so. Yeah. I think
Okay,
you would say
then
she was a superstar there.
then ideally she should have been done while we were still in the
Well, but we did
60s or
we
whatever,
only
but it's
did
fine.
we only did Suchitra because she has done Hindi films as well. So I don't know if
Oh,
Madhabi Mukherjee has done any Hindi films.
it doesn't matter. The woman was wonderful. We should still do an
Oh
episode
yeah,
on
yeah,
her.
no, she's
Yeah,
absolutely
for
peerless and
sure.
amazing. So we
Yeah.
should do her. Okay, that'll be fun to
We'll
look
have to
forward to.
put you on a timer when you start talking about Charulata.
I have tried to write about Charulata so many times and I can't get anywhere because I'm just like, "Bleh."
Right.
It's perfect and I love it. Like I can't shape my thoughts into anything coherent. I just want to be like, this is it. Ah.
You'd be like, 2 thumbs up.
So conversation is probably the best possible thing for me. But yeah, have me on a I'll have to set my watch timer every 3 minutes. Be like, stop now, stop now. No, seriously, stop
Right.
now.
I'll just text you constantly. I'll be like, Beth, please stop. Exactly.
I'm the one with the record button, so you can't stop me.
I can do this though. I can be like,
You're gonna have to.
enough, stop it, basta. Bus. Chup.
Bus is my favorite Hindi film language.
Bus? There's a Hindi
It's
movie called
no, no,
Bus?
no, no, no. I mean, like of the
Oh,
of the
word.
Hindi I've learned from films, I feel like I
Hmm.
think I said this once, like bus is so handy, and I sometimes say it around people who don't know Hindi, and then I feel really
Right.
silly, but it's so useful.
It's your catharsis. I thought you also like telling people to get out of your office in Hindi.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Nikal
you
ja.
never know when it's going to pop up. Sometimes I just say things in Hindi and I then feel really stupid because if anyone does know what I'm saying, then I've said it badly and they should laugh at my pronunciation. And if they
Right.
don't know what I'm saying, then they're like, so
Yeah.
what's going on over there?
Like she's just talking to herself again in some language we don't know. She's probably saying mean things about us. It's fine. Um, okay.
Oh, can I just say that
Yes.
this weekend, Ponniyin Selvan friend and I
Ah.
had a Bollywood watching party and we watched Bhedia and he loved it.
Oh, Pedia is so cute. Has Punny and Salvan Friends scenes 3 2 with you or no? They
No, we're
weren't.
going to do that next. We wanted to watch Bhedia first for
Okay.
reference purposes.
Okay. Very nice. Punny and Salman Friend is getting deep into Bollywood now. Okay, I think that wraps up this episode on Amrita Singh, not a superstar, but we still like her anyway.
Mhm.
Tell us what your favorite Amrita Singh movies are. What are your views on Kalyug? I will try to watch Kalyug before this episode is published so that I actually know what the comments are talking about. And we will see you next week.